There's been a great deal of hype for the live adaptation of The Last of Us. The game is not only critically acclaimed, but loved by gamers. Not to mention, the game has been remastered not only once, but twice. The adaptation is in the hands of writer and creator of the miniseries Chernobyl, also published by HBO. Thus the show is in competent hands. Episode 1 of The Last of Us is a great setup for what's to come, establishing a dark world where humanity is just trying to survive to the next day. Now before I begin, I just want to make a disclaimer. I've only played the very beginning of the game and watched a couple cutscenes and playthroughs of the game. And while I know what's to come in the further episodes and know of the controversy behind The Last of Us Part 2, I will not be comparing the game and the show. I am going in as if I am the average viewer with no prior knowledge of the game. Now that that is cleared up, let's move on to the review. The show opens up with an interview in 1968 where two doctors are talking about viruses and pandemics, one of them being Jonathan from The Mummy.
Jonathan!
I guess Jonathan got tired of mummies and archaeology and decided to become an epidemiologist? Huh, not the weirdest career change I've heard of. Anyways, Dr. Jonathan expresses he's not concerned about bacteria or viruses because humanity has been battling illnesses for thousands of years. But fungus is something we should be worried about.
True, fungi cannot survive if its host's internal temperature is over 94 degrees. And currently there are no reasons for fungi to evolve to be able to withstand higher temperatures. But what if that were to change? What if, for instance, the world were to get slightly warmer? Well, now there is reason to evolve.
This scene is both captivating and haunting. Though it's not wise to start your show with an exposition, this scene is properly executed. Just like the audience in this scene, we are drawn in and feel a sense of fear about the potential dangers of fungus. Not to mention this scene foreshadows how the fungus spreads later in the show. Just sounds so creepy and violating, how a fungus can grow inside your brain and body, how it can take control and force you to do its will. And what a perfect way to set the tone and instill fear into the audience.
So if that happens,
we lose.
After the opening credits, we jump to 2003, where we're introduced to one of the main characters, Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, and his daughter Sarah, played by Nico Parker.
You get your homework done? Fractions?
We get a clear dynamic of who Joel was before the fall. He's a loving father, focused on work so he can provide for his daughter, often forgetting the little things like wearing his shirt inside out or buying pancake mix.
You're deceiving all these people. There's no pancake mix in there. Stop shouting. Stop lying to these people.
Meanwhile, Sarah isn't afraid to bust her father's balls, while also showing compassion. Gabriel Luna as Tommy, Joel's brother, also makes an appearance to round out the family dynamic. Yo, is my boy Joel rocking a Nokia? Though Joel is the main character, we spend more time with Sarah as she goes about her normal day while preparing her father's birthday gift. We get to see how the fungus is spreading throughout the day. We hear about continued disturbances in a foreign country on a radio broadcast. Emergency service vehicles have been zooming across the city all day. A disturbed woman ushering Sarah out of her store, likely after hearing news about the fungal virus spreading. An elderly disabled woman suddenly twitching in the background, then suddenly returning to normal. A dog's instincts telling him something is off about his owner. Small events that seem random and unimportant slowly revealing that the virus is taking over. The first infected we see is of the old lady from before. The fungus is growing out of her mouth like tendrils seeking out its next victim. You can see the fungus growing out of her mouth and into her next victim. Just as the doctor explained, the fungus has grown throughout her body, turning a frail woman into a zombie. It reminds me of the Flood from the Halo franchise, how the parasite infects its host and takes over with the intent to spread the infection by any means necessary. The fungal virus in The Last of Us acts similarly, turning normal people into mindless zombies with no sense of self-preservation. Joel and his family have limited options to escape as the main highways are packed by traffic or blocked off by the military. More and more infected are spreading, causing panic across the streets, even causing an airliner to crash. The opening of the show perfectly captures how chaotic the initial spread of the fungus is, leaving you on the edge of your seat. We witness Sarah's death at the hands of a soldier trying to contain the spread of the fungus. Pedro Pascal doesn't hold back in this traumatic scene, as with Nico Parker, who sells how scared Sarah is, how she looks at her father to make the pain stop before she dies.
You come on. I know, baby. No, I know.
Damn, I choked up. We skip 20 years later to Boston. The world as we know it is gone. America is overrun with infected. Cities are in ruin. Vegetation has overgrown everywhere. A section of the city is a walled-off quarantine zone under military totalitarian control. Soldiers strap a kid to a chair long before confirming if he's infected and publicly execute lawbreakers. A strict curfew is enforced while soldiers patrol the streets chanting, Joel was a changed person. The loving father is gone, replaced by a cold, emotionless man. Another strong performance by Pedro Pascal. Don't have the will to throw a dead child into a bonfire? Don't worry, Joel will do it without a second thought. Joel has been working every job he can get for money, even selling contraband. His daughter's death still weighs on him so deeply that he has to take sleeping pills and drink himself to sleep. Tess, played by Anna Torv, is Joel's partner, who's been working with smugglers to acquire a battery for a car. She's tough as nails and doesn't mess around. Despite being assaulted, she remains stoic and strong. Joel and Tess have been working to acquire supplies for a car. You see, Joel's brother Tommy used to be part of a faction called the Fireflies, a group trying to overthrow the totalitarian rule in Boston, but have also been blowing up different parts of the city in retaliation. Tommy has recently left the Fireflies and is somewhere in Wyoming. Speaking of the Fireflies, we meet their leader, Marcel, who is also as tough as nails, showing how dark and cold the world has become and how the survivors had to adapt. She recently captured a teen she deems valuable. We are finally introduced to the second main character, Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey.
Hey, people are gonna come looking for me. People from Fedra, you hear me? Let me out or you're gonna pay, mother.
Whoa!
Hey.
You got some acorns on you, kid.
Ellie is rough around the edges, quickly to distrust those around her. Hell, when Marcel returns her backpack, the first thing Ellie does is pull out a pocket knife. Though Ellie is somewhat trusting and warm to Marcel, she isn't afraid to defend herself. Though, not too much success. Compared to Joel, Ellie doesn't get much screen time, so it's hard to gauge Bella Ramsey's performance so far. For most of the episode, Joel and Tess are working to get a car battery, heading into the abandoned subway to find where the battery is stored. We witness what the fungus has become after 20 years of spreading. Not only overrunning a man's body, but also growing across the wall, perhaps trying to reach a source of sunlight or sustenance to further grow. The special effects department did an excellent job, and I can't wait to see more depictions of the fungus. Joel, Tess, and Ellie eventually cross paths. A deal gone bad has wiped out the Fireflies, leaving only 2 members and Ellie alive after a shootout. Marcel bargains a deal. If Joel and Tess take Ellie to the Firefly outpost, she'll give them a car and supplies in exchange. Joel and Tess agree. Joel and Ellie are the main characters, and already there's an interesting dynamic between them. Joel is distant from Ellie, despite the latter trying to engage in conversation. Ellie expresses she knows nothing about the world, not even how literally dark it is beyond the quarantine zone. There's even a bit of bantering between the two that got a bit of a chuckle out of me. The 3 sneak out of the city before dawn, but run into a guard on patrol. When he goes to check them for infection, Ellie recklessly stabs him in the leg. Joel comes to defend her, but then gets a flashback of when the military soldier killed his daughter, and instinct just takes over. He starts punching the guard and just keeps on punching him while Ellie watches in the background. At first, I thought Ellie was a bit traumatized, but after a second watch, I realized she's looking at him with awe. Despite Joel becoming cold and distant, the protective father still lies underneath. Here we also get why Ellie is so important. She turns out to be infected, but then reveals she was bitten 3 weeks ago and has yet to turn, whereas those infected turn within minutes to at most a day. How this scene was handled is my only criticism of the show. It feels a little clumsy when Ellie reveals she's been bitten. The episode ends with Joel, Ellie, and Tess running into a ruined Boston while the guards start searching for what all the ruckus was. In Joel's apartment, the radio starts playing Never Let Me Down by Depeche Mode. Earlier in the episode, Ellie tricks Joel into revealing the meaning behind someone playing 80s music on the radio, which means something bad has happened, within like a little foreshadowing to end the episode. Overall, The Last of Us is chopping up to be a good start. Pedro Pascal does a good job portraying Joel. I wish we got to see more scenes with Ellie, but we'll just have to wait and see if Bella Ramsey is good as the character. The Last of Us is by far the darkest depiction of a zombie apocalypse. The episode drops a few hints in the background of what the characters may face on their journey. This isn't humanity trying to rebuild society and civilization. This is humanity just trying to survive and make it to the next day. And I can't wait to see how Joe and Ellie's relationship grows in this season. I have high expectations for this show and can't wait to see more. Please comment below, as I'd like to hear your own thoughts about episode 1. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Deviant, and I'll see you next time.